Hey everyone! Today we're diving deep into XRP, and I've got to share something absolutely fascinating that just came out from Crypto Basic. Get this, a top crypto CEO is revealing that ultra-wealthy families are quietly buying up XRP behind the scenes. Here's the story. Jake Claver shared that a friend of his was actually driving a super rich family to Disney World. You know, just casual billionaire stuff. And during the ride, they started talking about XRP. And guess what? These ultra-wealthy folks are loading up on this cryptocurrency like there's no tomorrow. Now, this shouldn't surprise you if you've been following my content. I've been telling you for ages that XRP is what the elites see as the future of finance. Here's my advice. Invest in what the elites are investing in. It's really that simple. Do you honestly think the ultra-rich don't know what XRP is? Come on, they absolutely know because they're in those exclusive inner circles where XRP has been quietly discussed for years. This isn't new information for them. They've been planning this for a long time. That's exactly why any working retail investor who wants real financial freedom needs to pay attention to this cryptocurrency. This insight actually comes from something Riz mentioned a few years ago, and when you hear how they got the name for their ETF, it all starts to make sense.
Man, everybody wants to know, how did you get the XRP ticker symbol? That's prime real estate right there.
All credit goes to Hunter Horsley. You know, our CEO at Bitwise, a few years ago, you have to reserve these tickers. So you have to petition the New York Stock Exchange or NASDAQ that you want to reserve these tickers, that you're planning to launch an ETF related to that ticker. And then you have to prove that you're planning to do that. You have to show momentum in that direction. And we looked back in our archive. It was a few years ago. Hunter told Teddy that we wanted to reserve this because we knew we were marching in the direction of XRP. So really excited to have that ticker. You know, the ticker's not everything, but it's an important thing. And obviously that is the iconic ticker. So it was great to have that for launch.
Oh, absolutely.
I think they all knew years ago exactly what they were going to do with XRP in the future. That's why we're seeing all these ETFs popping up right now. These companies have been watching the demand for this cryptocurrency, even during the worst bear market conditions. I remember back in 2022, and you probably remember this too, there were tons of people who were incredibly bullish on XRP, even when retail investors wouldn't even touch it with a 10-foot pole. That's the difference between smart money and everyone else. These companies move in this direction because they already know where this is heading in the future. And here's Matt Hogan once again dropping some serious knowledge about XRP.
You also recently launched a Xrpl ETF. Why did you focus on Xrpl?
Yeah, so Xrpl has an extraordinarily strong community. It's a Lindy asset that's been around for a long time. And therefore, we think people want exposure to it in an ETF. And then the second sort of implied question, I think, in your question is, what about its real world use case? And my view on Xrpl is that this is a blockchain that faced existential regulatory threat for the past X years. The SEC was suing it basically out of existence. As a result, there was no chance for it to have any real world adoption because who was going to partner and build on Xrpl when it faced existential lawsuits from the SEC? Just not going to happen. Now those lawsuits have been removed, and there's a chance that this blockchain finds real-world use cases now that it can compete on a level playing field. So we launched the ETF to let the community and people who are interested have high-quality exposure in an easy ticker. We have a great ticker there, by the way. The ticker is XRP, which is pretty cool. We reserved that one a while ago, waiting for this. And then the investment case is there's a reason we haven't seen dramatic scaled real-world adoption. That reason was the regulatory threat, and now it's been released. And so that doesn't guarantee that Xrpl succeeds or that XRP succeeds, but it means that
what this regulatory clarity does is absolutely game-changing. It opens up the ability for Xrpl and XRP to finally succeed without any legal roadblocks. Think about it. They were held back by that Xrpl versus SEC case for years, and now we finally have a level playing field. That's exactly why I still believe that XRP's real run hasn't even begun yet. I think what we've seen so far was just the market adjusting for that pro-crypto administration and the Xrpl versus SEC case finally coming to an end. Plus, all the anticipation around proper regulations getting put in place. Here's what's really wild. I don't even think the run has actually started for XRP yet. I keep seeing people saying, oh, XRP already topped out. This run is over. Come back in 2028. But honestly, I don't think it's even started yet. We have such a long way to go from here, and I'm going to explain why. Check this out. Europe just completely flipped the switch. The first Mica-approved Euro stablecoin is now live on the XRP ledger. We're talking fully compliant, fully scalable, and fully unstoppable. This is huge because it unlocks EU-wide institutional liquidity, and XRP is positioned absolutely perfectly for this moment. When you see a Mica-compliant stablecoin going live on the XRP ledger, you already know the direction this is heading. Why? Because now other countries around the world are going to follow this exact same path. It's like dominoes. Once one major region sets the standard, everyone else follows. And here's something really important to remember. Ripple was also fully vetted by the United States government. That's massive. That means when regulations finally get properly established in the US, they're going to be incredibly bullish for XRP. The pieces are all falling into place. And if you're not paying attention to this right now, you might be missing one of the biggest opportunities in cryptocurrency history. And speaking of pieces falling into place, it's already happening in Europe because of Mica regulations and Ripple's incredible ability to actually pass these Mica requirements. Just look at what's happening right now. Italy just set a hard Mica deadline for crypto platforms to comply. Like I said before, Mica regulations are going to start expanding out, and other countries are absolutely going to put these same regulations in place. So here's the big question. What happens to companies that can't comply? Well, companies that don't want to get Mica licenses are facing some seriously strict rules. They must completely stop all activities in Italy by December 30th, 2025. I'm talking about ending all customer contracts, returning crypto assets and money back to customers, stopping custody and management services, and posting clear notices on their websites about their shutdown plans. Italy is even telling customers of these non-compliant exchanges to get their crypto off those platforms immediately. And you know what? In other words, you don't know what's going to happen if these companies can't pass regulations. Think about it like this. Some of these companies will just fold up like an overnight event, and your crypto will be gone with them. This is exactly why I'm always telling people not to store their crypto on exchanges. We're going to see a major bottleneck in exchanges very soon, and it's going to happen country after country. Now, let's talk about Ripple and Franklin Templeton. Take a listen to this because it tells you exactly how Franklin Templeton looks at Ripple and the direction they're heading.
Going so far?
It's been great. I mean, look, we are a partner to the Ripple organization. We're working with them in many ways. We see the value that they're creating across their whole ecosystem, including the XRP chain. And so we think that, we have an investment team and we run funds that are actually investing in coins and crypto. This is one of the investments that we've favored. We think being able to offer it to clients in an ETF is important. We've also added it to our Easy Peasy, which is our multi-coin ETF that has now 8 different coins in it. And XRP is actually our 4th largest allocation in that multi-coin portfolio. So we're really able to bring our investment conviction about the chains that we think are going to really be instrumental in creating this new industry infrastructure. This is what gets represented in our Easy Peasy product, and that is what we're able to offer to clients to give them either diversified exposure, or if they want an individual coin like XRPZ, they can get into the XRP ETF individually as well. And that augments the ETFs that we have already in Bitcoin and Ethereum.
Well, that's kind of the question I have is we have talked to a handful of fund managers that have launched XRP ETFs here recently, all of which have been very successful. Do you think we're at a phase now where the institutional validity that's being put out there within Wall Street, along with the demand that's coming from both institution and retail, has this started to step XRP up to the level of what's happening in the Bitcoin and ETH ETFs?
I think that we're moving in that direction, right? I think that there is a very interesting story playing out around stablecoins. XRP is one of the only chains that also has its own stablecoin, right? The RLUSD. And I think that adds a new element to what they might be able to do in terms of building business around the chain. Don't forget, I think one of the most exciting prospects of these new rails is going to be the vast increase in the number of computer-to-computer transactions that are going to start to occur as we see more people get comfortable with Web3 models, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that, when you have your own stablecoin and you've got this chain that is already a public chain that has an independent verification network operating around it, this starts to become, I think, a pretty interesting business case, which is why we've been looking to partner with and doing more with Ripple over the last couple of years. Don't forget, they had some challenges here in the U.S. while that lawsuit was on.
Sure.
And outside the U.S., they've been continuing to build their business dramatically. We operate globally, so we've been engaged with them in Asia for some time, and now we're seeing that start to spread out to more regions of the world.
So what Franklin Templeton is really investing in is the disruption. They know the direction Ripple is going, they know where XRP is heading from here, and it's just going to continue to expand and grow worldwide. Take notice how she was specifically talking about expansion outside of the United States. Here's something incredible. Ripple went fully global while the Ripple versus SEC case was still happening. And she even mentioned regulations. I think everybody's just waiting for regulations to be put in place because they know that's the absolute next step for massive XRP adoption. Here's something that's going to blow your mind. There's a rumored Treasury memo from 2014 to 2016 that warned a private fintech company could outpace SWIFT. So here's my question. Was the SEC's attack on Ripple a real case? Or was it just a stall tactic while SWIFT rushed to get their ISO upgrade completed? The timing feels way too clean to be a coincidence. Let me break this down for you. We had President Trump from 2016 to 2020, and things were moving incredibly fast back then. Remember, they were talking about a digital dollar. They were even discussing paying out stimulus payments in digital dollars. But I think the rest of the world just wasn't ready yet. So the Ripple versus SEC case started, and what happened? Ripple went global after that. They started putting payment rails in place everywhere, and I mean everywhere, very fast as well. Then we got President Trump back last year through the election, and when that happened, I think it put the US right back where we left off in 2020. And honestly, I think now it's go time, and you can see everything coming together in real time. But here's another huge benefit. The Ripple versus SEC case also fully vetted Ripple in the United States. Plus, we already know for certain that XRP is never going to be classified as a security again. That's massive regulatory clarity. And just recently, Ripple CTO David Schwartz broke his silence and revealed his full XRP Ledger Hub metrics. This is that special project David Schwartz has been working on behind the scenes. But how does this actually benefit XRP? Here's the bottom line. He thinks the XRP ledger's financial primitives should be used in way more situations, not just for quick payouts to a small group of users. Now, Schwartz was also honest about the risks involved. He acknowledged that making radical smart contract additions requires a massive amount of engineering, creates unpredictable outcomes, and changes parts of the XRP ledger that he considers absolutely essential. Even successful experiments like the AMM cannot guarantee specific usage levels. So any new functionality needs solid proof that it can drive real demand before the entire ecosystem commits to it. With this hub disclosure, we're seeing David Schwartz being incredibly strategic about XRP's future development. It looks like Ripple's CTO is ready to prioritize complete transparency in operations while keeping protocol changes on a strict, evidence-driven track. So what David did was absolutely brilliant. He created this hub and he wants to see exactly how much volume that hub gets before they commit something like this to the XRP ledger permanently. In other words, they don't want to have all these random projects on the XRP ledger potentially slowing down the network. He wants to see how everything can work together while we still get those lightning fast, dirt cheap, and ultra secure payments at the same time. I honestly can't wait to see where this goes from here. And Ripple is absolutely ready for what's coming. Take a listen to this.
There's so much conversation going on about AI and how AI is going to be reshaping the world. There's not enough conversation about how technology is going to be reshaping the financial services area too. And the need for democratization, as Secretary Besson talked about the democratization of investing in America. There are slews of middlemen in the whole financial services area. We have elongated settlements, elongated processes. If we could digitize every asset, so if we could digitize all stocks and bonds and have it more seamless going from a digital wallet of cash or stablecoin into equities or bonds through, in most categories, through an ETF, it will reduce the friction costs, the transaction costs, and it allows a much more free flow. So there's $4.1 trillion of money in digital wallets globally, sitting in stable coins mostly. And can you now, and right now if they wanted to go into a bond or stock or have a real estate transaction, they have to take the money out of the digital wallet into a traditional wallet and have all those commissions and fees and all that stuff. So the whole idea of tokenization of all assets, including real estate ultimately, is going to just reduce huge friction costs, making investing easier, simpler. You could, as the Secretary was talking about this one account, you can do this all through your app, and it's going to allow a more, I would say, a free-flowing process of investing.
Everything is going to become a tokenized asset. But here's the thing, you still need to custody those assets, and you still need to be able to move those assets around the world. And that's exactly where XRP comes in. You need to cut out the middleman, you need to eliminate the friction, and you need to slash those costs. That's precisely what visionaries like Larry Fink are looking at. Technology isn't slowing down, it's only advancing and speeding up at an incredible pace. We're literally on the verge of the rise of AI. I mean, it's already happening, but it's about to absolutely explode over the next couple of years. Picture this, we're going to have machines paying other machines automatically. And right in the middle of all of that activity, you're going to have cryptocurrencies facilitating everything. When we're holding XRP, we're literally holding the robot money of the future. That's why I've always said, if you invest in the right cryptocurrencies, you don't need to diversify into 30 different random projects. You just need to invest in the right ones, the ones that are well-rounded, the ones that are going to be part of the new financial system, the ones that are going to be tied to AI, and the ones that are going to bridge everything from the traditional financial system into the new digital economy. And XRP is at the absolute heart of all of that transformation. That's why I always laugh whenever somebody talks about XRP's price potential and says, oh, it can't hit this price point or that price point because of market cap. Market cap literally does not matter when you're talking about a cryptocurrency that can move anything of value all around the world. We're living in a time where people are completely frustrated and tired of SWIFT. They're sick of the ridiculous fees, and they're absolutely done waiting over the course of an entire weekend for a transaction to maybe show up on Monday or Tuesday, just hoping that money actually got there. You can see exactly why an alternative was desperately needed a long time ago. But I don't think the world was quite ready for it yet. Now, the world is absolutely ready. Everybody wants instant gratification in everything they do. You even have the Trumps pushing for change. Eric Trump is actively pushing for the end of SWIFT. You have Donald Trump Jr. also pushing for the end of SWIFT. Other influential people are pushing that SWIFT needs to go because it's completely outdated and horrible, and everybody wants a real alternative. That's exactly how we get wealthy in the end as XRP investors. When people with that kind of influence and power are pushing for something new, you already know something revolutionary is here. We're holding it in our hands right now, and you can see Ripple putting all the payment rails in place for this massive transformation to happen. That's why I always tell you, this isn't just about cryptocurrency speculation. This is about positioning yourself for the future of global finance. What are your thoughts on this massive shift that's happening? Are you ready to be part of this financial revolution?